A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News on TV1, coming to you live from the Newsfirst studios in Colombo. My name is Krishan Devasakayam.
And I'm Vinayji Senaviratna. Here are your headlines for tonight.
The headlines on Newsfirst.
Electricity tariffs to be increased by 18% for the second and third quarters. PUCSL says no increase for consumers using less than 180 units per month.
සියලුම පාරිභෝගිකයන් අතර ගනුදෙනුකරුවන් ගත්තොත් ඒකෙන් 95%ටම මේ විදුලි ගාස්තු ඉහළ යාම බලපෑමක් සිදු වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Today marks 4 years since a peaceful Aragala was brutally attacked. Pallegama Hemaratna Thero, the Atamasthana-adhipati, remanded. Investigations into the death of Kapila Chandrasena, Colombo Crimes Division. 5-member medical team conclude the post-mortem examination. Met Department forecast heavy rain in a number of areas as a result of a low-level atmospheric disturbance developing into a low-pressure zone. US Secretary of State says Iran's response to the peace talks is still pending.
On to your top story. The Public Utilities Commission today approved an 18% increase in electricity tariffs for the second and third quarters of the year.
However, the chairman of the commission said that 95% of electricity consumers will not be affected by the increase as the government has allocated a 15 billion rupee subsidy to cover electricity costs. Accordingly, consumers using between 0 and 180 units of electricity will not face an increase to their bill.
The argument presented was that an 18% electricity tariff hike is necessary due to a deficit of 38 billion rupees. To recover this 38 billion rupee deficit, an 18% increase was proposed to cover the remaining 1.5 months of this quarter as well as the next quarter, which is July, August and September. However, the argument was decided to provide a subsidy of 15 billion rupees to shield the majority of consumers from the impact of this price hike. This decision has been formally communicated in writing to the Commission. Consequently, 95% of all electricity consumers will not be affected by this tariff increase. The hike will apply only to certain categories. This is because the government is covering 15 billion of the 38 billion rupee deficit. A remaining balance still exists. This gap will be closed by applying the 18% increase only to high consumption consumer categories. It does not apply to everyone, only to specific groups. In total, the impact of this tariff hike will be felt by 5% or fewer of the total consumer base.
Under the revised decision, those consuming between 180 and 210 units will be charged 1,760 rupees, while the cost rises to 2,210 rupees for the 210 to 240 unit range. For households using 240 to 270 units, the fixed charge has been set at 2,660 rupees. Meanwhile, consumers exceeding 300 units will face a fixed charge of 3,110 rupees. There will be no electricity tariff increase for consumer categories using 0 to 180 units.
Today marks 4 years since the attack on the Gaul face Aragala following a political meeting held at Temple Trees.
What happened on the 9th of May and what was the sequence of events behind it?
Politics is a contract with the people. Through an election, the sovereign power held by the people is temporarily granted to a group of representatives. This is done to enable these representatives to work for the welfare of society and create a better future for all. It is a responsibility granted on a temporary basis. This is representative democracy. By handing over this custodianship, society expects that the respective representative will serve honestly and dedicate themselves to the living standards, social welfare and the future of the community that they represent. This is called the social contract. Philosophers Thomas Hobbes, John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau were the pioneers who introduced this concept of the social contract. Jean-Jacques Rousseau said that real power belongs to the people and that true freedom comes from agreeing to laws for the common good. John Locke said that by birth, a human being has the right to life, liberty and property. He stated that a government or a ruler is appointed to protect these rights and that if the government or the administration fails to fulfill that, the people have the right to overthrow that regime. Now, let us think about what happened in our country in 2022. Was this a completely isolated incident? Or was it the result of a problem that had been brewing for a long time? By 2022, the economy of our country was flattened to the ground. We were in debt to the entire world. The economy was devastated due to unbearable loans that were spent on projects that cost 2 or 3 times what they should have. Projects that brought no benefit to the country. A group of people who got commissions from those projects had become extremely wealthy. On the other hand, ordinary people in the country were unable to obtain even daily essentials like food and medicine. It reached a point where there was no money to pay for fuel or to import fertilizer. Due to several other foolish decisions, the economy collapsed completely. That economic crisis did not happen on its own. It was created by a few individuals. And they were not ordinary people. They were top-tier politicians and a small group who enjoyed their blessings. Looking at it that way, it was an economic crime committed by a few. That disaster was caused by politicians. What is the history behind this? This economic collapse has a long history. Although the British left our country upon independence, the country was taken over by native elites. The only difference was that they were not British. In their thoughts and behavior, they were sycophants. These sycophants made sure that power in this country was exchanged between a few families over the past few decades. Though they existed as separate political parties, within them were just a few families. It would be accurate to say 3 or 4 families. The administration carried out by these family-centered parties became more corrupt day by day. While countries in our region that were poorer than us at the time of independence developed rapidly over the past 70 years, our country became poorer day by day because of the few corrupt families that ruled it. Our country only moved upwards only in terms of corruption and the wealth of these few families. The people became poorer and poorer. Politicians sowed divisions within society, making people fight each other to maintain their rule. Because of this, society was fragmented into pieces by many divisions like race, religion, caste and province. That is the political and historical background of the state our country had fallen into by 2022. Finally, even when the country hit rock bottom in 2022, what these rulers did was use the final remaining reserve of $500 million to pay off debt, eyeing their commissions. When the people could take no more, they decided that enough is enough. Forgetting all the divisions that had split society for 70 years, the people united as one. They decided that to live as humans with self-respect, this corrupt system of governance must end. The wave built upon that decision was Gota Go Home. On the 9th of April 2022, people gathered at the Goalface Green and showed their power peacefully. Goalface Green remained as a continuous social movement under the name Gota Go Gama. Another group expressed their protest near temple trees under the name Maina Go Gama. Most of these people did not know each other before. However, there was a common similarity among them, being a citizen oppressed by the decline and exploitation that occurred in this society. Division based on religion, ethnicity, education level, or the area that they lived in did not matter. It was a moment when our society initiated a social transformation in search of modernity. So, did the rulers recognize this change? The answer is no. The regressive politicians in those old familiar political parties thought they could stop this in the same old way. So what did they do? They gathered their henchmen and thugs and held a meeting at Temple Trees to put on a show. After preparing the crowd, they first attacked Maina Gogama. The ruler thought that people would retreat and run in the face of thugs and violence as they had done in the past. But something unexpected happened. The entire citizenry bound themselves with a spiritual bond against this injustice and unfairness. The moment we heard that Gota Gogama was attacked, those of us in offices, those in workshops, those of us studying at universities, those at home doing our own work, and those of us even traveling on the road, we all ran to the battlefield. We came for our own people who were at the peaceful, non-partisan Aragala for the sake of our problems. We didn't come with weapons. We came with the respect in our hearts for the struggle. The massive crowd that descended upon Galface Green taught the thugs a lesson that they will never forget for the rest of their lives. Some ran away covered in excrement. Ultimately, within a few hours from sending groups from Temple Trees to attack the Gogama, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa was forced to resign. The Aragala did not stop. Over the next month, the people became even more emboldened. Exactly 1 month later, on the 9th of June, Basil Rajapaksa resigned from his National List MP seat. On that day, a massive crowd of people came to Colombo from all over the country. Despite the sudden police curfew imposed on the 8th of June, people forced the resumption of train services and came to Colombo by train. They came despite the continuous firing of tear gas and high-pressure water cannons. Thousands of people broke through the barricades around the President's house and entered the President's house as well as the Presidential Secretariat. Later, they also took over Temple Trees. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was forced to flee the country. All of this happened through the influence and perseverance of peaceful, unarmed people. If there was any reaction from the people, it was caused by the inhumane attack carried out from Temple Trees against peaceful, non-partisan protesters. Through the dialogue that emerged as a result of that Aragala, the people discarded traditional, narrow and corrupt politics like taking out the garbage. Waiting for the right time, they voted for a new political transformation. The historic event where the Aragala was attacked and thugs fled before people's power serves as a lesson to the country forever. That is, it is not the traditional political parties filled with thieves who ruled this country for 70 years that stand for the people. It is the people themselves. Our supreme respect goes to the Sri Lankan society that united for that Aragala. The general public must also remain vigilant about the old forces returning in various disguises to hijack and reverse this societal transformation created by the people.
An exhibition featuring memories and photographs of the 2022 Aragala was held today at the JDA Pereira Gallery in Colombo. The event was organized by a collective of activists from the Aragala movement. The exhibition is titled Memories of a People's Struggle.
So it's been 4 years today since the 9th of May attack to the peaceful protest site at Galface. We actually have two goals in doing this exhibition. So the first one is to memorialize or remember things that happened, because 2022 Aragala was a turning point in the political landscape of Sri Lanka. It did put an end to the previous corrupt political culture, and a new party came to power. So this is a turning point. This was also an incident where large amount of people, a lot of Sri Lankans took part. It was not led by single groups of people. It was a mass movement. So the government has a responsibility to memorialize this, not let it pass. Our second goal is demanding justice for Aragala. There are over 3,000 people who are involved in court cases. Lives have been lost, not just in Colombo, but even outside. But there hasn't been justice for any of these deaths or the incidents. And we see justice only being served for one class of people, one set of people. That was the old guard, that was the old politicians. They managed to get compensation for their houses that were burnt, but the lives that were lost during the Aragala did not receive anything. So I think the government should not wait only for the judiciary to make the decision, but there needs to be a political decision. There needs to be a political answer to people who are victims of the things that happened during the Aragala.
Meanwhile, a group of activists staged a protest in Colombo demanding the withdrawal of all cases filed by the police against Aragala activists. The activists participating in the protest pointed out that the Aragala directly influenced the current government's rise to power, and in such a context, continuing to maintain legal cases against protesters is unjust.
As activists of the Aragala, we have been forced to take to the streets once again because the NPP government has by now completely violated the election promises given to the people. The NPP government clearly came into power as a result of the Golface Aragala. We urge this government to remain faithful to the election promises they gave and to immediately find a way to completely uproot and dismiss all cases related to the Aragala.
They also handed over a letter containing these demands to the Presidential Secretariat.
Now, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has been summoned to appear before the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption to provide a statement regarding the Airbus deal.
This morning, Mahinda Rajapaksa received a summons to appear before the Bribery Commission. The summons states that he must appear before the Bribery Commission on the 12th. We would like to remind the Bribery Commission that they can conduct whatever investigation they want and that President Mahinda has no fear to face any of those allegations. We condemn with disgust these actions that are being taken at a time when the government cannot prove any of the allegations of corrupt and fraud against any of the Rajapaksas. Also, we would like to say that if the government is thinking of placing their hands on Mahinda Rajapaksa, that is the day that they will be making a mistake. The day that they place their hands on Mahinda Rajapaksa, they will be able to see another Aragala.
These were the views expressed by the Democratic National Alliance.
They play a double game. On one hand, catch the thieves if you can. If we have stolen, we aren't afraid. Go ahead and catch us. Enforce the law against us. But the moment they are summoned to the Bribery Commission, they start shouting, "He is the leader who saved the country. He is the leader who developed the country. Come out and protest." We say there is no need for that. If there is such a fault or an accusation, go face the investigation and come back. Stand and face it. There is no need to provoke the public. This is why we repeatedly tell the government. On the 9th of May, the people of this country took to the streets in a liberation struggle against those who robbed them of their economic, social and democratic rights. The people didn't chase them out just to bring them back or to fulfill their personal ambitions. It is to fulfill the people's aspirations that they gathered in crowds to elect this president and this government. That is why we say to act in accordance with this public mandate. We saw what happened to many of the people who gave statements against these accused individuals. We saw how they covered those things up. We saw how those investigations were suppressed.
The investigation into the death of Kapila Chandrasena, the former Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines, has been handed over to the Colombo Crimes Division. Police said that the post-mortem examination is being conducted. The body of Kapila Chandrasena was discovered yesterday morning at a relative's house located along 5th Lane, Kollupitia.
Former CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, Kapila Chandrasena, was accused of accepting a bribe of $2 million during the deal to purchase Airbus aircraft for the airline in 2013. After being arrested by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, Chandrasena was remanded in custody and subsequently released on bail on the 5th of May by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. The bail conditions included a cash bond of 500,000 rupees and 3 personal surety bonds of 10 million rupees each. Subsequent investigations following his release on bail revealed that 2 individuals had been presented as sureties for 2 of the 10 million rupees personal bonds after paying 15,000 rupees each to obtain their services. The Commission then requested court permission to suspend the suspect's bail, stating that he had violated the bail conditions and breached the trust of the court. The Commission also requested that he be remanded until the conclusion of the case under the Anti-Corruption Act. Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodragama had ordered that Kapila Chandrasena be arrested and produced before court and further directed that the warrant be executed without delay. Kapila Chandrasena was found dead while arrangements were underway to arrest him in terms of the court order.
Now, Namal Rajapaksa says the government is responsible for the death of former Sri Lankan Airlines CEO Kapila Chandrasena.
National organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, and several others attended a public meeting in Radhavana, Dombe to celebrate the birthday of former State Minister Prasanna Ranavira. Thereafter, comments were made regarding the death of former Sri Lankan Airlines CEO Kapila Chandrasena.
2 lives have been lost due to the actions of the government and the police. By pressurizing them to give false testimony, the government has pushed these 2 individuals to the point of taking their own lives. Theft, fraud, corruption and waste must be stopped, but there must be a proper program and a legal framework to do so. Let us rebuild ourselves starting from the villages. We do not want to engage that is driven by hatred, hypocrisy, jealousy or malice. We do not want our political journey to be built on lies and deception. Now the NPP is facing a huge issue when they convene a meeting. Why? Because for the amount of lies that they say, lightning keeps striking everywhere.
What is happening in the country today is deeply concerning. We still do not know whether the airline's official's death was a suicide or something more suspicious. False allegations and politically motivated cases have been filed, claiming bribes were taken for an aircraft that was never brought into the country. The level of misinformation and character assassination has become so severe that people are finding it difficult to face society with dignity. Because of the growing distrust people have toward the current government, many are once again gathering around our camp. We have only one clear objective: to rebuild a strong leadership under Namal Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa by 2029. One of our biggest mistakes in the past was allowing personal ambitions to divide us, with many aspiring to become Prime Minister.
These are the views expressed by the Civil Intelligence Front regarding the death of Kapila Chandrasena.
When did the Airbus deal take place? Everyone knows it happened during the Rajapaksa regime. Several important statements regarding the massive fraud that took place during that period were expected to be given in the future. Despite having wealth, power and influence while loyally serving the Rajapaksa regime, Chandrasena now appears to have been abandoned after being caught up in these fraud and corruption allegations. It is as if the members of that regime have said, even if we were involved together in fraud and corruption during the Rajapaksa era, don't drag us into it now. You go to jail alone. The same situation seems to have applied to Kapila Chandrasena as well. However, a serious suspicion has now emerged. Was this suicide, or could it have been a murder carried out by members of that regime to prevent certain names from being revealed? Determining the truth in the coming days is the responsibility of the Criminal Investigation Department, and we are closely monitoring the situation.
SLPP Member of Parliament Chanaka Madhugoda says that the death of Kapila Chandrasena is suspicious.
Today, the death of Kapila Chandrasena is being discussed in different ways, with some saying it was a suicide and others calling it a mysterious death. At the time he was arrested, it has been alleged that officers of the Bribery Commission attempted to force a statement from him, and he has submitted a note to the court through an affidavit regarding this. It is also stated in the affidavit that during questioning at the Bribery Commission, Chandrasena was allegedly asked a threatening question referring to the manner of a murder of a person who was connected in the case involving MP Kapila Rambukwella and was asked whether he too wanted to end up in the same way. So today, the death of Kapila Chandrasena appears to have occurred in the very manner that was allegedly mentioned by the Bribery Commission at that time. Because of this, a clear suspicion is now being raised regarding his death.
සඳහන් කරපු ආකාරයටම තමයි අද සිදුවෙලා තිබෙන්නේ ඒ ආකාරයට.
This is what the Sri Lanka Workers' People's Front had to say.
Mahinda Rajapaksa was scheduled to be summoned regarding the Airbus deal. Kapila Chandrasena was the key person who provided evidence for it. Today, there are serious discussions taking place in various circles regarding how Kapila Chandrasena managed to obtain bail. Remember, we saw a similar pattern before. The journalist who first wrote about the Airbus deal was reported to have committed suicide by shooting himself at Independence Square, less than a month after Gotabaya Rajapaksa took office. It was claimed he shot himself in broad daylight in a highly populated area with such high security. Remember, when Kajja came forward and exposed the Rajapaksa's crimes, within 2 days, both he and his child were shot and killed. These Rajapaksas are such brutal criminals. Therefore, there is a serious challenge ahead. The loss of Kapila Chandrasena's life, no matter how it happened, raises grave suspicion. It demonstrates the magnitude of the challenge we are currently facing.
ඒක පෙන්눔 කරන්නේ මේ තියෙන අභියෝගය මේ අභියෝගය පෙන්눔 කරන්නේ.
The Atamastanadipati, the Venerable Pallegama Hemaratna Thera, who was arrested on charges of abusing a young girl, has been remanded until the 12th of May. He was remanded after the magistrates of Halfdorf's Court No. 2 examined the Thera, who was receiving treatment at the ICU of a private hospital in Colombo. The magistrate ordered the suspected Thera to be transferred to either the prison hospital or the Colombo National Hospital. Furthermore, the magistrate ordered that the Thera be produced before the Anuradhapura Chief Magistrates Court on the 12th of May. Now, the National Child Protection Authority reported facts regarding this incident to the Anuradhapura Magistrates Court yesterday, upon which the court ordered the arrest of the suspect monk. Anuradhapura Chief Magistrate Siyapat Sasindu Vikramaratna ordered a travel ban to be imposed on the suspect Thera. Police stated that the magistrate also ordered that the mother of the girl, who was arrested and produced before court yesterday on charges of aiding and abetting the incident, to be remanded until the 15th of this month.
Aragala Deputy Mayor Ashardin Moinuddin of the All Ceylon Mughal Congress, who was arrested on bribery charges, has been remanded until the 21st. This follows the suspect being produced before the Halfdorf Magistrates Court today.
The suspect was arrested by the Bribery Commission last evening at a hotel in Batramulla while accepting a bribe of 3 million rupees. The deputy mayor had allegedly promised to prevent the cancellation of the Aragala bus stand cleaning contract and pleaded future assistance for the matter with the support of members of the council. Meanwhile, the All Ceylon Mughal Congress announced that the party membership of the deputy mayor of the Aragala Municipal Council, Ashardin Moinuddin, has been suspended.
In more local news, a high-level policy dialogue titled Sri Lanka 2048, Developed Nation or Deferred Promise, was held in Colombo today, bringing together key voices in policy, economics and governance to examine the country's long-term development path.
A high-level policy dialogue titled Sri Lanka 2048, Developed Nation or Deferred Promise was held in Colombo yesterday. The forum was organized by the Bandaranaike Academy for Leadership and Public Policy and focused on the strategic challenges that the country will face in shaping its path toward mid-century economic and governance goals. The panel featured founder and CEO of Lovi Ceylon, Asanka Dimel, alongside Member of Parliament Kabir Hashim and International Communications Specialist Shehara De Silva. The session was moderated by Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group, Shami Rasuldin.
I want to talk about China as well, because if you look at their growth rate, it stands at 5%, even below Sri Lanka. But the size of the country's economy is very big. We're talking about approximately $20.4 trillion US dollar economy, compared to Sri Lanka. So in your opinion, how do you think this 40,000 per capita income that you're talking about is feasible?
I actually think we are looking the problem backwards. Sir, you honestly talked about inequality GDP. Sri Lanka is one of the highest inequal already. So we are poor and unequal. So why would the poor people care about what you guys are talking about? Because they do not see any growth in any of these things. The reason we are looking backwards is, how many of you know what is the current GDP is? Total GDP is about $108 billion last year, 2025. How much of it is coming from the private sector? Essentially 100 billion is private sector, 8 billion is government spending for military and administrative services. Our private sector is not growing fast enough. So it's not absorbing the 350,000 kids that are born every year. So the government has to take them into jobs. Otherwise you're going to have a fight and people are going to get kicked out of their seats.
Former President Chandrika Kumaratunga was also present at the event. The discussion brought together leading voices in policy, governance and economics on the long-term strategic challenges in shaping Sri Lanka's future.
This is extreme weather.
On to your weather update. The Meteorological Department states that the atmospheric disturbance in the low atmosphere near the island may develop into a low pressure area by the day after tomorrow. Due to this influence, the weather forecast indicates that the current rainy conditions can be expected to continue over the next few days.
Due to the atmospheric disturbance in the lower atmosphere near the island, the current rainy conditions are expected to continue today and in the coming days. We can further expect heavy rains. Primarily, there is a continued possibility of heavy showers in the western, Sabaragamuwa, southern, central and northwestern provinces, as well as the northern province. This situation is likely to persist until about the 15th. From the 13th onwards, wind speeds are likely to increase along the western and southern areas. The average wind speed could increase up to 60 km an hour after the 13th. Therefore, the fishing and naval communities are advised to remain vigilant when navigating those sea areas from the 13th onwards.
As we all know, tensions between the United States and Iran continue to remain high amid ongoing military and diplomatic friction. Now, Vinayji, as we know, the latest in this situation is that US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has stated that the United States is awaiting a formal response from Iran on a proposal to end the war.
We have Hashini with the latest updates.
Thank you, Vinayji. Thank you, Krishan. Now, as tensions between the United States and Iran continue to escalate, the Middle East once again finds itself at the center of global attention. Now, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the United States is expecting a response from Iran on its latest peace proposal. However, Ismail Baghi, the spokesperson of the Iranian Foreign Ministry, said the US proposal is still under review and the response will be given at the appropriate time. He also dismissed American set deadlines, saying they mean nothing, and stressed that Iran conducts its affairs independent of ultimatums. Let's take a look at the latest developments of the conflict in the Middle East.
Footage released by the Pentagon shows U.S. strikes on 2 Iranian oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. military said the vessels were disabled following overnight exchanges of fire with Iranian forces, preventing them from reaching ports in the Gulf of Oman. Oil prices jumped amid renewed U.S.-Iran fighting in the Strait of Hormuz, but settled thereafter. Brent crude oil futures jumped as much as 3% on Friday as the U.S. and Iran clashed in the Strait of Hormuz, but the gains were pared back amid optimism of an imminent agreement between Washington and Tehran to end the war. Brent crude futures settled at $101.29 per barrel, up $1.23 or 1.23% after rising as much as 3% during the trading session on Friday. Food prices rose around the world for the third straight month, according to the UN, as conflict in the Middle East fuels global supply concerns and pushes up the cost of fertilizer. Consumer sentiment in the US declined to another record low. Over in Lebanon, Hezbollah claimed carrying out more than 24 strikes on Israeli forces. Hezbollah claimed it carried out 26 attacks on Israeli forces in southern Lebanon since Thursday afternoon, amid intensified strikes across the region by Israeli forces that were reported to have killed more than 30 people. The Lebanon-based group said its attack included a missile strike on an Israeli tank outside the Lebanese town of Deir Syrian, shelling of an Israeli advance on the town of Hadassah, and a strike on Israeli soldiers gathered in the village of Labneh.
Now, shifting our attention from the Middle East to India. As Tamil Nadu heads into a politically charged election season, the state is witnessing one of its biggest political shakeups in recent history. According to Indian media, actor turned politician Chandrasena Joseph Vijay has secured the majority needed to become the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu today. Now, he is scheduled to take his oath as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu tomorrow. Until yesterday, Vijay's Tamilaga Vetri Kalagam or TVK party had the support of 116 legislators. They required the backing of 2 more members to reach the majority and form the government. Here is a look at the developments so far.
The party had been holding continuous discussions with the Viduthalai Siruttaigal Katchi. In this situation, VCK leader Thol Thirumavalavan announced during a media briefing this evening that his party would extend unconditional support to the Tamilaga Vetri Kalagam. Meanwhile, the Indian Union Muslim League also announced its unconditional support today to TVK. The party had earlier denied reports claiming that it had already extended support to the Tamilaga Vetri Kalagam yesterday. However, following discussions held today by K.S. Sengotian at the TVK with the Indian Union Muslim League, the party submitted a letter of support for the formation of the government. After continued discussions, the Communist Party of India and its affiliates also announced its unconditional support to the TVK yesterday. According to Indian media, the Tamilaga Vetri Kalagam has now secured the support of 120 members in the 234-member Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly, surpassing the 118 MLAs needed to form a government.
We at Newsfirst are continuing to keep a close watch on this evolving story taking place in our neighboring India. So stay tuned to Newsfirst digital platforms for the latest on this developing story.
And in sports news tonight, it's school cricket. Now, Vinuji, even though 5 months of the year have already passed, there is still no sign of the school cricket season cooling down. And of course, we are not complaining about it.
Well, yes, Krishan. Omitra is ready to bring us the latest details on that excitement today.
Yes, Vinuji and Krishan, on your sports news today, we take a look at the big match season, which just as you said, is still going strong. And several inter-school big matches were held today as well. Let's take a look at the match highlights from today.
The 66th Battle of the Mangosteen annual big match between Kalutara Vidyalaya and Thissa Central College Kalutara ended in a draw. The match was played at the Desoisa Cricket Stadium in Moratuwa. Batting first, Thissa Central declared their first innings at 275 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. In response, Kalutara Vidyalaya was restricted to just 69 runs. By the end of the match, Kalutara Vidyalaya, batting in their second innings to avoid an innings defeat, had reached 190 for the loss of 6 wickets. The Battle of the Crowns big match between Christ King College Jaila and Kerry College Colombo ended in a draw. The encounter took place at the Pisara Oval Stadium in Colombo. Batting first, Christ King College was bowled out for 145 runs. Kerry College in their reply was bowled out for 105 runs. Christ King College declared their second innings at 253 runs for the loss of 5 wickets. By the close of play, Kerry College had reached 13 runs for the loss of 1 wicket in their second innings. Accordingly, Christ King College Jaila secured a first innings victory. The 20th Battle of the Golds annual big match between DS Senanayake College, Colombo and Mahanama College, Colombo continued for its second day today. The match is being held at the SSC grounds in Colombo. Batting first, DS Senanayake College was bowled out for 344 runs. In the bowling department, Shamika Hinitikala stood out by claiming 6 wickets. At stumps today, Mahanama College, in their reply, put up a strong performance reaching 161 runs without loss in 34 overs. Meanwhile, the vehicle parade organized by DS Senanayake College in view of the Battle of the Golds was held this morning. The parade was held with the participation of Principal Sampath Verugoda, the staff, students, alumni and parents. Starting from the DS Senanayake College premises, the parade proceeded to the SSC grounds.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Take care, good night and God bless you.